Another interesting session in ES with buyers showing that they are in control of this tape following yesterday's break of near-term range support, test of a lower reference point, and then a close at session highs. That is actually what gave us the primary clue for today's session. This morning in the pre-market prep live stream, I talked about how SPY was showing a daily time frame hammer candle for yesterday's action. This was kind of the main clue that I was working with today to assess whether or not buyers were going to continue to dominate in today's session. So essentially we have yesterday closed as a daily hammer, and I'm looking at SPY simply because ES is going to show the 24-hour session, or 23-hour session rather. It's not going to give you that same shape. So ES action, again, yesterday's daily candle showing 23 hours worth of trading. That includes the overnight session, so we're not getting a clear idea of how that daily candle is shaping up, whereas SPY is only going to show us the regular trading hours. So we do have a hammer there this morning coming into the day with a gap higher. Essentially, we're just looking to see for the day whether or not buyers can show continuation of that gap up above 4,800 rather, into the 48.20. Now, the main area of support that we've been looking at is this kind of green zone that you can see right through here. The 47.75 was the main area of interest that I was essentially looking to assess the structure. And so if we flip down onto the 30-minute chart, you can see initially price has that rally during the pre-market session. Very tough to continue to try longs into that 4,800, likely need some type of pullback. That's exactly what we saw later in the morning with price testing that 47.75. And from there, it's just an enormous rally, a nonstop rally up through 4,800, now almost into that 48.20 level. So the thesis played out nicely for today's session. Range trading does continue. Now, as far as what we're looking at for tomorrow, price is now coming into those upper resistance area, 48.20, 48.40, where bears have materialized before. We've seen some selling up into this 48.20 previously. Last Friday, a lot of selling there. And then earlier this week, some selling versus that 48.20 kind of upper resistance area on this near-term range. And so tomorrow, we just want to see, are bears continuing to defend this 48.20? Are they continuing to defend the 48.40? Now, interestingly enough, NQ, which was showing quite a similar setup, near-term range trade, did break out. This is a breakout today. So what we were looking at on NQ for today's session was whether or not buyers could defend this 17K level. Now take a look at this. You have some initial kind of break above 17K, a test of that Thursday high, which I'd mentioned as a key reference point for today's session. So break above 17K, test, pull back to 17K, more buyers are found. Good demand there at 17K. Breaks higher, right? No real acceptance, just kind of a break higher. Fades back down, we retest that near-term range volume point of control, and that sets up the next leg. So tomorrow we want to see, is this breakout continuing to hold on NQ? Buyers really showing their dominance in the tech-heavy NASDAQ, likely fueled by that move in Apple today. Apple gapping up on that upgrade. Big move in Apple today. As a reminder, Apple is a heavy hitter within both of the indices, meaning Apple is the heaviest weighting in both of the indices. That's in S&P 500 as well as NASDAQ. So if Apple is showing a big trend day, you want to be real cautious fading that move. Can give some really good clues as to what to expect for the broader index, the big picture index. So NQ for tomorrow, we want to see this breakout point holding now as support. Prior resistance now becomes support. This is pretty good acceptance up here now. If sellers were actually if this was actually, this initial blip above was actually going to be an up thrust, sellers would need to show a more sustained move down through that near-term volume point of control back into like 16,900, maybe even the near-term range low. But what this tells us right now with price holding that near-term volume point of control is that all of this action through here was accumulation. It's not distribution. Now, on the 60-minute, we have a big hammer as well, right? Not really indicative of sellers showing their strength here. So essentially an attempted breakout, pull back into the lower bounds of what would be considered the breakout point with that near-term volume point of control right through there and closing on the highs. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Oh, it's going to be over here. So the daily chart now coming into the 52-week highs up here. December 28th marked the 52-week high, and that is 17,165. So essentially, main objective of buyers tomorrow is to hold this prior breakout point at the 17K level and show a test and potential continuation up through those 52-week highs. So this has been pretty much a week-long consolidation, right? Looking at about 6 sessions here of just sideways trading on the NASDAQ. Today looks like it is starting that next leg higher. So again, buyers' main objective is to show a fresh 52-week high here on NQ. ES, a little different. I just point that out because ES is a little different here, still within that near-term range, still within the prior week's action, not quite showing that breakout play yet. So we really want to assess how price is reacting to 48.20 and 48.40. Again, a move through that 48.40 will trigger a month-long breakout. That will likely be a multiple day move if it does trigger. So some things to keep in mind here. This is a very long consolidation period. After a long consolidation, you usually have, a rather large leg in either direction, whichever way it goes, doesn't matter. From contraction comes expansion and vice versa. So some things to keep an eye on. The setup is developing quite nicely here. I do see ES pushing into 48.20 ahead of the close right now, almost into that 48.20. So again, the thesis today just playing out perfectly. Now we just want to see some continuation move. Pretty straightforward. As far as individual names, scans remain pretty dry. I'm going to be looking at Boeing. Decent inside day breakout. If you guys trade the inside day or you're unfamiliar with what the inside day is, this is a perfect example of that inside day break. You have a stock in play, Boeing, big sell bar, right? On Tuesday, Wednesday, all of Wednesday's action is within the prior day. So this creates the inside day on the daily chart. You can see all of Wednesday's action within the prior daily bar. And so then you just look for a break of that inside day and you trade with the direction of the break. Works on the index as well as stocks in play. So something to keep on watch in the future if you're unfamiliar with that setup. So Boeing breaks that prior day high, inside day triggers a long, and we see that move just shy of PT2 here. Tomorrow, we want to see if buyers can show that continuation and close the gap right up into essentially 217, maybe even higher than that. So that's Boeing on watch tomorrow. We do have the 200 MA right there. Keep that in mind. And then Southwest, pretty interesting setup here. Take a look at this. Range bound, strong volume today. Big buy bar into the 200 MA, which also happens to be near-term range high. So this is setting up nicely for a potential breakout. Be looking at the Southwest play for a breakout. And then just the index trades, NQ. You want to see continuation of this, essentially this 6-session range breakout up through the 52-week highs, and then ES coming into bit of a trickier spot here. We want to see if buyers are going to continue today's move or if bears are going to be defending this near-term range high. So this continues to be on ES. This continues to be a resistance zone until it's not, right? So just some things to keep in mind. We'll see how that shakes out in the morning. I'll share an updated game plan with the pre-market prep live stream and in the notes. Hope everyone had a great day. Get that review done. Get that easiest play of the day documented. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Pre-market prep live stream. Have a great afternoon. Take care.